Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 21st of September and we're going to deal with two very important topics. One topic is in news, that is elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir is undergoing elections after 10 years and it is going as a UT for an elections this time. Around 90 seats are there which will be contested, and it is going to be the first ever election after the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. So it is very important to see and understand how people over there are having their voter behaviors. Then next is SDG 9, the themes which we are covering or thematic discussions which we are doing, and the theme which we have picked up is the Sustainable Development Goals. So we've come a long way, and half of the goals we can say is completed. That is 8 goals we have completed. Today we will be picking up the ninth goal, and the ninth goal is all about building resilient infrastructure, promote industrialization, and foster innovation. When we talk about infrastructure is not only physical infrastructure but digital infrastructure also. We'll be talking about uh, you know broadband highways and all also over here. Then what are the steps which have been taken by the government for promoting industrialization, because industries are uh, having the highest potential to generate employment, and obviously innovation which leads to better productivity, ease of life and all. That is very much important. You need to do innovation continuously. And as the Indian Prime Minister has said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, and Jai Anusandhan. Anusandhan is basically innovation. So we will be looking into this, and the MCQs will be followed after this. So elections in Jammu and Kashmir, if I talk about, total 90 seats will be going into, polls this time. In 2008, there were less number of seats. 2007, 2008 and 2014, less number of seats. There was this Jammu and Kashmir reorganization bill which was passed, and according to that, the number of seats have been increased in Jammu and Kashmir to 90, and earlier I think it was 84 or something like this. Now, this election is scheduled in 3 phases. Phase 1, September 18, which has already been conducted. Phase 2, September 25, this week, the coming week, this will happen. And phase 3, October 1st, counting on October 4, 2024. So this is the basic, I would say, uh, schedule for the elections. Here we can see the number of seats given to which parties in 2008, like NC, National Conference of the Abdullahs, it received 28 seats. Uh, PDP, People's Democratic Party, received 21 seats. Congress received 17 seats. BJP received 11 seats, and others, they received 10 seats. 2014, the equation changed. BJP received 25 seats, PDP received 28 seats, Congress received 12 seats, and the NC received 15 seats, and others are 7. Now, this year also, the major political parties which are in the foray are BJP, PDP, Congress, Apni Party, People's Conference, and Awami Ittihad Party. And let's not forget the National Conference of the Abdullahs. So, these are the political parties which are there. Lok Sabha 2024 results, you know, total seats were 5, and vote share, if I talk about, the 24% vote share was taken by BJP, NC 22%, Congress 19%, PDP 8%, and others 27%. So among the political parties, BJP had the highest vote share in Jammu and Kashmir. So as I said that this is the first ever elections after abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. This is going to be very critical for a political party like BJP, which has removed Article 370 from Jammu and Kashmir. It was a major task. And we should also understand that after the abrogation of Article 370, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, they were formed into two union territories. They are still union territories. So Jammu and Kashmir is undergoing elections this time as a union territory. This is what the context of these elections is. Now, context of constitutional changes done in Jammu and Kashmir after the abrogation of Article 370. First, Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. It led to the creation of two UTs. One is Union Territory of Ladakh without a legislature. Second is Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir with a legislature. So this is without a legislature. That is why probably Ladakh was demanding sixth schedule of the constitution so that they can administer, they can legislate on the issues for themselves. Amendments were made to the first schedule of the constitution in Article 3, which governs the formation of new states and territorial alterations. Then we had this Article 239. Article 239 gives the powers to the president to, legislate or to administer overall administration of union territories. The power is with the president, means the central government has direct authority over the union territories. But yes, there is this 239A, which was there. So the 2019 Act means we are talking about the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. It specifies that Article 239A, which allows for creation of local legislatures for certain UTs, applies to Jammu and Kashmir. So just like union territories, which are Delhi, Puducherry, Jammu and Kashmir has become the third union territory to have a legislative assembly. Now, the president's power with respect to that particular union territory will be less because the legislative assembly will be having the powers. That legislative assembly will be making the laws and executing them. The Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir will operate under the distinct set of powers compared to other states due to the unique constitutional status derived from Reorganization Act. So, we need to understand one thing, that having a legislative power in Jammu and Kashmir is not placing Jammu and Kashmir at par with other states where legislative assembly is. Just like Delhi. Delhi also has a legislative assembly, and Delhi is not at par with other states of the country having legislative assemblies. There are certain powers which are not there under the ambit of these legislative assemblies of the UTs, which other legislative assemblies have. Now, we can compare this powers among themselves. Like, what is the legislative power of Delhi's legislative assembly? What is the power of Jammu and Kashmir's legislative assembly? And what is the power of Puducherry's legislative assembly? So, Delhi, which is another UT with a legislature, is governed by Article 239 AA. Jammu and Kashmir, Article 239A, which confers the unique power but has led to conflicts between Lieutenant Governor and the elected government. There are three subjects which are there in the state list. Other states, their legislative assemblies legislate on these three subjects, but Delhi can't. These three subjects are land, public order, and police. Like, for example, the Delhi police is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. No, it is this way. They are reserved for the LG. However, control over services or the bureaucracy has been a bone of contention between the state and the center. Supreme Court clarified that the LG cannot exercise independent discretion on subjects other than three reserved subjects. These three reserved subjects, LG can exercise jurisdiction over them, but apart from these, no. Supreme Court has said this. Center enacted legislature in 2023, bringing services under the control of LG. Now, this too is now under challenge before the court. Let the courts decide that bureaucracy in UTs like Delhi should be under the state government or they should be under the central government, that is the LG. In contrast, Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly framework grants significant control to the LG, particularly in crucial areas. So, it is basically a lesson learned by the government of India when it saw the situation getting complicated and the conflicts between the Lieutenant Governor and the government of Delhi rising. So when in 2019 it was formulating a law for Jammu and Kashmir, it automatically increased, or it beforehand gave a lot of powers to the LG. That this was there in that Constitutional Amendment Act which was introduced. So let us look at the powers of J&K Legislative Assembly, and then we will look at the powers of J&K Lieutenant Governor. Now, as per 1947 Instrument of Accession, Jammu and Kashmir had the powers. Now, we will take the powers of Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly right from 1947. Means when Article 370 was given to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. At that time, Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly could make laws on any subject in the union list. Yes, Jammu and Kashmir State Legislative Assembly could make any law on the subjects mentioned in the union list, state list, or concurrent list, except for three subjects: defense, foreign affairs, and communications. Under Article 370, as it stood before the abrogation, Parliament had limited legislative powers with respect to J&K. I still remember when the laws were passed by the Indian Parliament, there was a special disclaimer in those laws that this law is not applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir when Article 370 was there. Article 370 was acting like a shield for the state of Jammu and Kashmir at that time because the central government, the parliament could not legislate on or for Jammu and Kashmir. Over the years, however, the centre's lawmaking power was extended to cover several other subjects in the union list. List 1 of the 7th schedule of the constitution. So over the years, centre's lawmaking power was extended to cover certain subjects. As per first, section 32 of the act, the assembly may legislate on subjects in the state list excluding public order and police. Now, when this 2019 law has been passed, Article 370 has been abrogated. Now, what it is being said that the state legislative assembly is there. Elections for that is only happening. That is why we are discussing this. That state legislative assembly will not be having powers to legislate on public order and police. It will be with the LG. For subjects in the concurrent list, the assembly's legislative power is limited. Section 36 of the 2019 Act imposes restrictions on introduction of financial bills, requiring the LG's recommendations for any bill involving financial obligations, limiting the Assembly's financial autonomy. So, this particular Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir is having very less powers as compared to the Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, which was there before Article 370 was existing. That is why, many political parties like National Conference and all are talking about bringing back Article 370. Article 370 can be brought back only by the central government, if it can. Next is functions and powers of Lieutenant Governor. Legislative Assembly management. He is responsible for managing the Legislative Assembly, summoning and proroguing the Legislative Assembly. It has the authority to summon the Legislative Assembly, and where there must be no more than 6 months between the sessions. So he should ensure that the maximum gap between two sessions of the Legislative Assembly should not exceed 6 months. LG can also prorogue, discontinue a session, or dissolve the Legislative Assembly. Addressing the Assembly. At the start of each new Legislative Assembly session, he should be addressing like any other governor or LG addresses. Communications with the Assembly. LG can send messages to the Assembly regarding pending bills or other matters. Legislative provisions, introduction of bills, bills concerning taxes, financial obligations, or any expenditure from the consolidated fund requires LG's recommendations. So, this kind of powers are given, extraordinary powers are given to the LG of Jammu and Kashmir. A bill cannot pass if it incurs expenditure from the consolidated fund unless recommended by the LG beforehand. Means it has to be recommended by the LG, then it has to be tabled in the Legislative Assembly. Legislative Assembly passes it, then it has to be given assent by the Lieutenant Governor. This has to be there. Once a bill passed by the Assembly, it must be presented to the LG, who can either assent, withhold assent, or reserve it for presidential consideration. The Article 200 of the Constitution gives this power to the governors of the state or the, I would say, lieutenant governors of UT to pass that bills for reconsideration or for consideration of the president. Bills reserved for president must receive either assent or be returned for reconsideration. If returned, the assembly must act within 6 months on those bills. Oaths of office. All the members of legislative assembly must take an oath of office, and LG is responsible for administering them oath. Financial management. Annual financial statement means this is nothing but the budget. The LG must present an estimated financial statement to the assembly. Expenditure overview. The statement must distinguish between expenditure charged on the consolidated fund and other expenses as well. Supplementary expenditure. Financial needs arise unexpectedly. LG can lay additional expenditure statements before the assembly. Legislative Assembly operations, rule making and all with respect to Legislative Assembly should be done under the powers of the Lieutenant Governor. Council of Minister. Council of Minister consists up to 10% of assembly members. This is the 10% limit is there in Delhi also. Led by the Chief Minister, who advises the LG on matters within the Assembly's legislative purview. LG has discretionary powers in specific areas and is not bound to follow the advice of ministers of on certain matters. So basically, the LG can act in his or her discretion. Appointment of ministers. LG appoints the chief minister and other ministers. It is just like any governor or lieutenant governor does. Contingency fund. Contingency basically is an emergency fund which is established for unforeseen expenditures which the LG manages. Advances from this fund require subsequent legislative approval. Financial accountability. LG must ensure the financial accounts are maintained per prescribed rules. Presidential oversight. The president can suspend provisions of this act if the administration in Jammu and Kashmir cannot be effectively managed. Means kind of president's rule will be there. And advocate general's appointment. Advocate general is the advocate of the state government, like the central government has attorney general of India, the state governments have advocate generals of the state. So the appointment of that advocate general is also the responsibility of the LG. So we can see that a lot of powers are there with the LG of Jammu and Kashmir. Till now, no legislative assembly was there. The whole sole responsibility of Jammu and Kashmir was with the lieutenant governor. Now, a legislative assembly will be there. So, some of the powers will be there with the legislative assembly. But yes, the LG, it seems, has some extraordinary powers with respect to the state, UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, next is SDG 9, build resilient infrastructure, promote industrialization, and foster innovation. This is very much important for job creation, industrialization. Infrastructure which is resilient. Resilient means it is resilient to disasters, it is resilient to, I would say, climate impacts, and it is long lasting. It should not be like we are building a road, but that road gets broken in the next rains. So this is how resilient infrastructure looks like, or it means. So global manufacturing, if I talk about, growth slowed from 7.4% to 3.3% in 2022. 2021, the growth was 7.4%. It has slowed to 3.3%. This is due to inflation, Russia-Ukraine war, energy price shocks, Russia-Ukraine war, supply chain disruptions, Russia-Ukraine war, global economic deacceleration, again can be owed to the Russia-Ukraine war. Energy related CO2 emissions reached 36.8 billion metric tons in 2022, which was a record high, and now it definitely will be more than this. LDCs means least developed countries are likely to miss their 2030 targets of doubling manufacturing share of GDP. Manufacturing value as a share of GDP in LDCs is 24.2% by 2030, the target is, but currently it is only 14%, which is estimated. In 2015, it was 12.1%. 95% of the world has mobile broadband access, 3G or higher, but coverage is only 82% in sub-Saharan Africa and 68% in Oceania. Oceania is that region which is northeast of Australia, Micronesia, and all. Their coverage has to be increased. And in India, this coverage is in, touching somewhere around 100%. So this is what SDG 9 is. But the sub goals in SDG 9, first is infrastructure development, quality, reliable, and resilient infrastructure with equitable access. Equitable access means where their infrastructure is not there, their infrastructure should be built. Sustainable industrialization, significantly raise industry's share of employment and GDP, especially in LDCs. So that has to be there. Financial services access, increase access to credit for small scale industries in developing countries, because credit availability becomes very important for businesses to thrive. Then sustainability upgrades, retrofit industries for resource efficiency and clean technologies. Retrofitting means the industries which are already there working, we should be doing some upgrades in those existing models so that they become more and more environment friendly. Enhance scientific research, upgrade technological capabilities, and increase R&D workers, which India definitely is struggling a lot. Support developing countries, provide financial and technical support for infrastructure development. Domestic technology development, foster a conducive environment for innovation and industrial diversification. Universal internet access, strive for affordable internet access in LDCs. So, this all definitely is going to take India and the world a long way. The importance of this particular, I would say, goal is economic growth. We need to achieve economic growth so that we can, eradicate poverty, eradicate hunger. All these are also SDGs. So these SDGs we can say are interconnected with each other. Infrastructure investment is fundamental for facilitating economic activities and reducing inequalities. Social development, sustainable industrialization leads to job creation and improved living standards. Climate action emphasizes the need for environmental friendly technologies and practices. We have to grow, we have to do economic activity, but that does not mean that we do it in any way. Any way means we are doing it in such a way that is harmful for the environment. No. Current challenges in this global manufacturing design decline. Prior to COVID-19, global manufacturing was declining due to trade tensions. Trade tensions between China, America, or the Western countries with the countries like China, Russia, and all. But the pandemic exacerbated this issue, leading to significant economic impacts, including inflation and supply chain disruptions. Inequality in progress. While some regions, particularly LDCs in Asia, have made strides, others, especially in Africa, must accelerate efforts to meet 2030 targets. They are not at par because they are lacking infrastructure, they are lacking digitalization, they are lacking obviously innovation. Africa is becoming more and more a region for the outsiders to come, exploit their resources, and go, leaving them with practically very less, I would say, benefits. Environmental concerns, global CO2 emissions reached 36.8 billion metric tons, highlighting the need for sustainable practices. What are the progress made? Mobile connectivity. 95% of the world's population has access to mobile broadband networks, with significant improvements in mobile cellular signal reach. So it is basically 97% have that improvements in mobile cellular signal reach, and 95% of the world's population has access to mobile broadband networks. Research and development, global R&D spending increased from 1.69% of GDP in 2015 to 1.93% in 2020, and unfortunately India's investment on GDP is less than the global average. We need to look into this seriously right now and aggressively. Manufacturing growth, despite a slowdown in 2022, that was 3.3% growth, medium, high, and high technology industries showed robust growth. Now, when I talk about SDG 9 in India, so I've given you a few glimpses about R&D and all, but let's see. Targeted habitations, where the habitations are living, 99.7% of the habitations are covered with all-weather roads under Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana. So, road connectivity or road accessibility is there with 99.7% habitations. 14.34% of total gross value added is from manufacturing sector. It is not GDP, but it is gross value added. GDP is somewhere around, contribution of manufacturing in GDP is somewhere around 25%. 11.42% of the total workforce employed in manufacturing sector, which is concerning. It has a lot of potential more than that. But yes, 54.18% of the total gross value added is from service sector. The service sector has this potential of generating value. So it is there in line with that. But yes, we need to increase gross value added from the manufacturing sector. We need to increase the people employed in the manufacturing sector. India is ranked 46th on the Global Innovation Index 2021 by WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization. But yes, we need to improve on that. We need to increase the expenditure on this. 93.3% of households own at least one mobile phone in India. 95.08% villages have 3G, 4G mobile internet coverage. So that is 95%. We need to obviously take it to 100%. Goal 9 index scores. If I talk about the states, the range is 28 to 76. UTs, it is 43 to 76. This is out of 100. And total score, if I see, total score is 61. And performance of the states, you can see. Front runner states means the top performing states are these: Punjab, Haryana, Goa, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal. Obviously, Delhi is also there. Performer states, the yellow ones are the performer states, and the aspirant states are the red ones. So, top category is front runner, second category is performer, and third category is the, you know, aspirant states. Obviously, we need to, zero down on the reds. Top performer is Goa and Puducherry in the UTs. Categories frontrunner 6 states and 2 UTs. Aspirant 8 states and 2 UTs are there. Highlights. When I talk about road connectivity, Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana achievements, as I said that 99.7% of the target habitations are connected. Top performers, 10 states achieved 100% connectivity. Like Andaman Nicobar Islands achieved this among UTs, and that is very much important for Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Manufacturing sector contributions, GVA share. Manufacturing sector contributed 14.3% to India's gross value added in 2022-23. Sikkim added the highest, followed by Goa, followed by Gujarat. UT leader is Puducherry, 30.4%. Employment in manufacturing, workforce engagement, 11.42% of India's workforce is employed in manufacturing, according to the periodic labor force survey. State leaders, Gujarat, followed by Arunachal Pradesh. UT leaders, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Service sector contributions, GVA share, 54.18%. So obviously, service, as I said, contributes the maximum. Karnataka, the state with highest, 65.41. Then Telangana, then Sikkim. In UT, it is Chandigarh at 90.1%. 90.1% gross value added in Chandigarh is coming from the service sector. Employment in the service sector, workforce engagement, 27.75% of the workforce is in the service sector. Top states, Goa, Chhattisgarh. UT is Chandigarh. Innovation score, global ranking, 46 out of 132 countries in the Global Innovation Index of 2021 with a score of 36.4. If I talk about the states, Manipur is the highest, 19.37, Chhattisgarh 10.97. UT score, Chandigarh is the highest, followed by Delhi. Mobile phone access, household ownership, 93.3% of the households own at least one mobile phone in the country according to the National Family Health Survey. Fifth, top performer Goa. Chhattisgarh has the lowest, 85.7, and the lowest is also, seems to be very high and obviously much higher than many countries in Africa. UT leader is Delhi, 97.7%. 3G, 4G mobile network access, 95.08% of inhabited villages have access to 3G or 4G. Top performer, Haryana, 99.95%. UTs Delhi, Puducherry, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu, that is 100%. Lowest coverage, Arunachal Pradesh, 47.9%. Now, what have been the initiatives taken by the government of India for SDG 9? The first is BharatNet. Though we since there is talk, we are talking about infrastructure development, we are talking about manufacturing, and we are talking about innovation. So we will be dividing this into three headings: infrastructure development. So BharatNet, it is a project to connect villages in India with broadband internet connectivity, and the target is to cover all villages with broadband connectivity. Smart cities mission, basically 100 cities in the country are chosen and they will be converted as smart cities. Smart cities, basically the core infrastructure of these cities will be IT driven or will be, electronically driven. National Highways Development Project, NHDP, a project to expand and modernize the national highway networks in India. Industrialization, Make in India, a flagship initiative to promote manufacturing and attract foreign investment. Industrial Corridors Development Program, a project to develop industrial corridors across India to enhance connectivity and attract investments. Skill India Mission, a mission to provide vocational training and skill development to the youth of India. MSME, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise, government initiatives to support the growth and development of MSMEs because MSMEs are the largest employers in India, MSMEs are the largest exporters in India, and MSME contributes a lot or substantially to the GDP. MSMEs can be found in the manufacturing sector as well as the service sector both. They have been, supported by the government, including financial assistance, market access, and technology adoption and all. Innovation, if I talk about, the Startup India initiative is there, program to promote entrepreneurship and innovation. There is this National Innovation Foundation, NIF, which has been formed that promotes grassroots innovation and traditional knowledge. Atal Innovation Mission is there, a government initiative to foster innovation and entrepreneurship among students and young professionals. And, National Research Foundation bill was passed last year by the government, which aims at improving or increasing the, I would say, fund availability or the funds for innovation in the country. Challenges and opportunities. While India has made significant progress, it still faces challenges in achieving SDG 9, and the challenges are high. Connectivity is a challenge still. Then digital literacy. You will give the broadband connectivity and all, but people will be using it diligently or not is a big question. Innovation. That is a big question. India is known for as the land of jugaads, but you know, we need to focus more on innovation. We are not focusing on that. Then manufacturing. Obviously, we have been ignoring manufacturing, especially after LPG reforms. Our focus went on to the tertiary sector, which obviously led to a lot of economic growth, but that growth was not able to create so much jobs. That is why that is called as jobless growth. Highest potential of generating jobs is with the manufacturing sector. So we need to focus upon that. Coming on to the MCQs, Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019 made changes in which of the following parts of the Constitution? Schedule 1, Schedule 3, Article 1, Article 3. Find the correct combination. Second question, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Article 370 did not allow the state legislature to make laws for the communications. The 2019 Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act did not allow the state to legislate on law and order. So, find the correct combination. Third is, which of these is the powers given to the LG of Jammu and Kashmir? Reserving a bill for presidential assent, establishing a consolidated fund and managing it for the state, appointing advocate general of the state, both A and C. Fourth, which of these programs of the government aims to provide broadband in the rural areas of the country? BharatNet, National E-Governance Plan, PM-WANI, or none of the above. Now the answers to MCQs of 20th September. Who was heading the high-level committee for making recommendations on One Nation, One Elections? Ramnath Kovind. No, I would say anything difficult in this. This was very easy, very simple. Which of the following necessitates the need for one nation, one election? Extra burden on the state exchequer due to the frequent elections? Yes. When there was no one nation, there is no one nation, one election, there are frequent elections, and obviously money is spent. The politicians obviously spend money for campaigning and all, but the government also has to spend money. The State Election Commission, the Election Commission of India, both have to spend money for getting those elections conducted. It is like this. Frequent disruptions of government services. Yes, this also happens because when the model code of conduct is there, so these services are disrupted. So both of these, the C is the correct answer for this. Third, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. All the constitutional amendments needed for giving effect to one nation, one election need ratification by 50% of the states. Not all the constitutional amendments. Only those constitutional amendments need ratification by the states, which will be pertaining to the changes to be made for the elections to panchayats and the urban local bodies. These will go to the states for ratification. Else, changes for the central, I would say, legislative assembly, that is the parliament, that is Lok Sabha, and the state legislative assemblies, the central government has the prerogative, central government has the powers, and those provisions will not go to the states for getting ratified. So this statement is wrong. One nation, one election will include elections for the third tier also, that is panchayats and ULBs. Yes, this statement is right. So only two is going to be the correct answer. Fourth, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Constitution provides for a minimum and maximum term of parliament. Not I would say minimum. It provides a maximum term and the maximum term is 5 years. This is wrong. Parliament and state legislative assemblies have exclusive rights for making laws with respect to the state assembly elections. Yes. Parliament has separate rights and the state legislative assemblies have separate rights. 327, 328. These are the articles. So this statement is correct. So only 2 is going to be the correct option for this. Last question. Consider the following statements and mark how many of them are correct. There was one nation, one election system in India till 1967. Yes, there was. Under the current recommendations by the high level committee, neither the parliament nor the state legislative assembly can be dissolved before 5 years term. Then only, one nation, one election will be upheld. This can be the understanding by many, but this is wrong. They can be dissolved before 5 years. But let's suppose a legislative assembly gets dissolved after 2 years, then the elections will happen for that legislative assembly only, but the government will come for a remainder 3 year term. Then after 3 years, one nation, one election obviously will be applicable. So this is wrong. One nation, one election can lead to reduction in policy paralysis. Yes, it can lead to reduction in policy paralysis. So only two statements are correct out of these three statements. With this, we've come to an end of today's session. I will be seeing you on Monday now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Namaste. Jai Hind.